everybody. Today I'm going to make a video about doing the crow pose. The crow is a fantastic position to start learning when it comes to balances. And I actually think it's an incredibly advanced position, and people often think it's something they should be able to do earlier on. So all I would say is, if it's something you're struggling with, just be really patient, but it's a really fantastic one to learn, as it will help you progress in all the arm balances, headstands, handstands you want to learn to do. In today's video, I recommend having a brick or something you feel confident standing on, so a really sturdy, strong book is a good idea. I also recommend having a yoga strap in particular, because we're going to be making a circle, we're going to be making a loop with it. Obviously you could do this with a dressing gown cord or a dog lead, but you need to make sure that if you were to tug it, the circle wouldn't come out. So investing in a yoga strap is a really fantastic idea for this one. So in your crow pose, I think what you need to think about is starting from the hands and moving up through the body. So often what I see when people try their crow is they come into it and their body looks in this perfect alignment, but the hands are a little bit crunkly, a little bit wobbly. And if I were to go over and try and pick up one of their fingertips, it would be a really easy thing for me to do. So when you're coming into this, just start off in a kneeling position and place your hands down on the mat in front of you. And I need you to start to develop some real strength in the hands, okay? And for this, really spread the fingertips and plant every single every single tip of the finger firmly as possible in towards the mat. Once you've managed to plug all the tips of the fingers into the mat, what I'd like you to do is bend the elbows to either side. Think of your downward facing dog and then wrap those slightly bent elbows back towards your belly. This will plug the shoulders in place, prepare the fingers. You may even feel the hands start to become stronger already. From here, just lift everything away from the mat other than the tips of the fingers. And it's like spider fingertips. You don't want to be coming into tented fingertips, so really pointy. You want them nice and spread. And the palms are just floating away from the mat, and you may be able to feel the fine fibers of your mat. Just tickle the palms, okay? And this is how strong I need the fingers to be. So if a teacher were to try and come over and just pick one of your fingers away, it should be completely impossible. So you need to start off with some real strength there. The second thing to think about when it comes to an arm balance is the arms, the clues in the name. Again, in an arm balance, you need to make sure the arms have developed some strength. So practicing your downward facing dog with slightly bent elbows is a fantastic way to develop that strength, as the elbows will learn to bend, and it's that bending sensation, it's the strength in the front muscles, the biceps, that are incredibly important to stop when you come into an arm balance, you're just completely collapsing, and they hold you there. So when you come in towards your crow, the first thing I want you to do, don't even think about coming into a crow. Let's bring the feet so they come really wide, they come wide as the mat, and just come down into a really deep yogi squat with the hands all the way out in front of you. So far further away than I would ever suggest you actually practicing your crow in. And really spread your fingertips, plant them into the mat. Imagine someone trying to pick the fingers away and you're trying to stop that from occurring. Bend your elbows to either side and then wrap them back towards your belly. And you've just got this lovely bend in the elbow, the strength in the hand, and you can just start tilting forwards and backwards. And you can just do this a few times, just tilting forwards and backwards. And my knees are nowhere near my arms. It's purely a rocking sensation in towards my arms. And it's not about necessarily building strength here. This is something that you'll want to build over the practice, okay? So rather than just jumping in straight into a crow, making sure you've got a strong yoga practice behind you is a fantastic thing to do. But this is just to give you that sensation of the tilt and make you feel a little bit more confident in your arm strength. Okay. So the next thing I'd recommend when it comes to practicing your crow is using a brick, okay? What you'll find is this gives you just a little bit of extra height and ensures that you're at the balancing height without actually having to commit to a balance itself. So let me show you. If you bring your palms firmly down in towards the mat, and let's say we were to go without a brick, and don't worry about the knee alignment for now, I'll talk that through. If I were to get you to balance here, as you can see, in order for me to balance, I'd have to learn to lift my bum significantly higher. Yeah? You have to learn to really get it lifted. And although that's something I really encourage you to do in time, I want you to feel confident, okay? So get your brick, turn it at least towards the medium setting, and then just bring the balls of the feet on top of your brick. And as you'll see now, my bum is at the height that I wanted it to be at because I've created this little stage. So I would always recommend finding something like a brick to stand on, yeah? All right, let's think about starting to come up. So as you've remembered, in that earlier drill pose, the hands were out in front of you, elbows bent slightly to either side, and then they wrapped back towards the thighs, yeah? And you can even take that slight drill on the brick, but as you can see, the knees are nowhere near my elbows. I'm just drilling, okay? When you are ready to start playing with your balance and start coming up, walk your hands as close towards your brick as possible, because otherwise, look how far I've got to learn to move. But if my hands are already as far back as they can be, there's really very little movement my body needs to do. What this also means is if your feet are as close together as a brick, your knees will be forced to fan apart, and as you walk your hands back, the arms will be in the perfect position for your crow, okay? So using a brick really sets you up alignment-wise. So walk the hands nice and close towards the brick, and hopefully what you'll find, just quite naturally by opening the knees wide and walking the hands back, is that the fleshiest region of your calf, yeah, has landed on the fleshiest region of the upper arm. It should have landed right on the tricep muscles rather than on the elbows themselves, okay? So we're spreading our fingertips, we're really finding the strength into the fingertips. And all I want you to feel confident with doing is tilting forward. So just have a look. If you come from back here and do what I so often see, which is a jump, the likelihood is you're not going to go very far, and more likely you're going to topple over, okay? So it's not about jumping. I want you to have complete control. As you'll see, it's just tilting, tilting, tilting. Now look at my feet. If there wasn't a brick here, I would be at the perfect height for a balancing crow. So you're just tilting to the point at which your feet become a little bit lighter. At this point, you can lift one toe, and you just, as you see, my body hasn't changed at all. The only thing that's changing is my toe was down, and now it's not. But the rest of my body is the same. So point one toe, release. Point the other toe, release. And in time, you can point both toes. Ooh, the brick has come out from beneath me, but as you can see, the only thing that's changed is the point of my toes, and the body has stayed in exactly the same position. Now, what quite a few of you might have found as you come into that is you find it hard to control the elbows, yeah? And some teachers will say to you, push your elbows in towards your knees, but that causes the chest to collapse. And then other teachers will say, just pull your elbows together and use your pecs, but that causes your knees to collapse. So it's actually this fine balance between opening and closing at the same time, and it's having the ability to hold at one angle, not being pushed open, but also not being pushed closed. So this is why I recommend the strap, So take your yoke strap and create it into a loop. And you want this loop, so if you get the strap just above your elbow, so it's in your upper arms, not your lower arms, you want it to be shoulder width apart, no wider, no thinner. So you've got this perfect balance of elbows both pushing outwards into the knees and pecs squeezing to pull the elbows in, okay? So you can bring the hands down, and essentially you do exactly the same thing. So let's get our brick to that nice medium height. Just bring the feet on towards it for a moment, bend the knees. At this point, walk the hands as close towards the feet as feels comfortable, okay? And ideally, with the strap, the upper arms will have come into contact with the fleshiest part of the calves, okay? So don't worry about getting the knees into the armpits. That's actually a crane. I'll teach that briefly at the end, but that's a crane. A crow is much lower, okay? A lot less graceful than a crane. You can imagine those birds. So as you spread the fingertips, you can just tilt the weight forward, and the strap is going to do miracles for you. It's going to help hold you so that you feel confident and you feel supported by your strap, by your brick. And as you can see, the only thing I need to do, my body will stay completely in the same position in time, is lift my feet. And they can come back down They can come off one at a time, both at the same time, and they can come back down. So remember, don't jump up and towards your crow, you will fall. It's a tilt, it's this sway, and then you get to the point where the body finds this perfect balance between coming forward and coming backwards. But what's happened with your fingers? Have they fallen to sleep? If they fall into sleep, this is when you head plant. If they haven't fallen asleep, the strength of the fingers pushing into the mat will stop you from head planting forward. And of course, in time, you'll be able to release the strap, no longer use that. In time, you'll have the lift in the bum that's big enough to do it without a brick. That's of course going to happen. But if you're here to learn how to do this for the first time, use those. I just want to show you the crane, which I briefly referred to earlier on, okay? And this is because often people will see yoga teachers or people who've been doing crow for a little while, and you can see their knees come really nicely up in towards their armpits, and it just looks quite a bit higher. And so people end up aiming to push in towards this. Now, pushing in towards this creates a lot of pressure on the knees into the armpits. So what often happens is people's bony processes of the kneecaps hit the upper arm bone and the tricep. And it's like the world's worst massage, someone just pushing straight into you, and that's incredibly painful. When someone is aiming to find the crane, it's about getting the knee off the upper arm bone and into the fleshiness of the armpit, into the muscles of the armpit, and suddenly it's no longer painful. So working on your flexibility is going to be vital. So what I would recommend is finding a deep yogi squat and just really planting one knee firmly into the armpit, not on the bone, firmly into the armpit, and then the other knee firmly into the armpit. So this is if you're wanting to transition from crow to crane. Again, use the brick, utilize it, okay? Don't leave them behind just because you've managed an earlier position. And just become confident with the knee weight into the fleshy part of the armpit. And pause. And the nice thing again about using the brick is that all you need to do is point one toes for half the balance. Point the other toes for the other half of the balance. And in time, you can lift both toes away for your full crane, knees come into the armpits, and then just start to push into the arms, feeling them straighten just a little bit as the feet come to the bum. Slowly making your way back and coming out of it. So top tips when it comes to crow: make sure your hands have developed the strength. Utilize yoga bricks and straps, invest in them. They make a really big difference to your practice. I use them all the time. I never do a practice without them. They feel as essential as my bottle of water and my yoga mat. Find the balance between elbows pushing out and drawing in. It's neither one or the other. It's this kind of harmony between the two. And go really slowly, okay? Don't aim for knees straight into the armpits. Start off with really fleshy parts of the calves into the arms. And the final one is don't jump up. The second you jump up, you lose control. It's a tilt. It's a tilt until that seesaw is balanced. You've got these two perfect weights on either side and you can hold in this plane. As ever, guys, please let me know how you get on with this. Tag me in the photos that you manage. My Instagram is @goodyogaandmassage. Please do give me a follow. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and let me know what other videos you're wanting me to make. Please do share with friends and family, and of course have a really lovely day, whatever it is you're up to. Thank you.